DeShaun Watson gets traded after the criminal cases were pretty much waived by the jury. 2 criminal cases waived by the jury, and it looks like he's not going to see any jail time. There will be civil cases that he's going to have to deal with, which means money. 22 women that he's going to have to deal with these civil cases. Who knows? Maybe there is some criminal cases behind, but as of right now, it looks like he's going to have a football season. He signs a $240 million contract. He gets traded to the Browns for 3 first rounds, a second and a third, a significant amount of pieces to the puzzle for the Browns in the future. They're planning to win now, but you have a waving Baker Mayfield who has come out and said before the DeShaun Watson trade that he wants out of Cleveland. Now, I don't know where this all started with Baker Mayfield, maybe because of the fans, maybe because of the insults, maybe the death threats throughout the season by fans to him and his wife. Baker just has had enough. And Baker has been one of the faces of the NFL over the last year and a half. He's been in every single commercial. A great Samaritan for the Cleveland fan. He's been a popular player over the last 2 years for Cleveland. This past year with the shoulder injury early in the season, he couldn't stay healthy. With a team as talented as they had, a lot of people thought moving forward that they were going to be a playoff contending team. They didn't make the playoffs this year, and with all the COVID situations and Baker's shoulder situation, they really believed that Baker wasn't the guy. At the Combine, they reached out to Baker Mayfield. They sat down with Baker and his agent. Baker pretty much told him that he's unsure if he wants to be there for the next half of his career. And the Browns told him that they are going to be seeking trades for DeShaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, one of these quarterbacks that were becoming available. Then DeShaun Watson speaks. He had 4 teams on his list: the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the Saints. We heard that it was really down to the Atlanta Falcons and the Saints the day before he was traded to the Browns, that the Browns were out of it. There was no way they were going to get him. 24 hours later, the Browns said to DeShaun Watson, we're going to extend your contract. We're going to give you one of the highest contracts in NFL history. Took back what he said about the Browns, and he would rather be traded to the Browns. And he was traded for 3 firsts, 1 second, and 1 third, and there she blows. He's now a Cleveland Brown. Baker could not be happy about that. And Baker was franchised before the season's end. $25 million will be guaranteed to him. With DeShaun Watson's problems, he is probably going to be suspended by at least 6 games. So I would keep and hold on to Baker. I've heard the Browns are looking for a number 1 pick, a first-round pick. I don't think he's worth a first round right now, especially with his shoulder problems. Teams are going to want to see how healthy he is. It's not his throwing shoulder, but they're going to want to see how healthy his shoulder is and how healthy he is going into the season. Maybe you start the season with Baker Mayfield. At least you have a quarterback that's doable and viable to win you games. And then when DeShaun actually starts to play, then you can trade him at the trade deadline and get as much as you can for Baker.
He's got a very polarizing market because of the injury, but he's also still very young.
He's a fan favorite, too.
So he's going to be a little more trustworthy to trust, comparing him to the veteran quarterbacks that could be available. Now, the biggest thing that hurt the Browns trying to move him was the Colts trading for Matt Ryan, where they're looking to not only win now, but try to get somebody that's young and affordable they could trust as trying to be a franchise quarterback with some good coaching with a top running back like Jonathan Taylor. Now they went for Matt Ryan instead, trying to get more of an experienced guy. It's a guy that's good in the fourth quarter. So now the Browns have a trickier market to judge and might consider just waiting to be the next quarterback domino to fall and let somebody else either create a vacancy for themselves or have something else happen to them, and it might expand their market. Now, Seattle, after trading Russell Wilson, has been a destination that's been noted. I can't see them doing it, though. I think they're in rebuild mode. They're trying to trade their receivers. And Carolina is the other team that looked interested in it first and then all of a sudden backed out recently. They have money to make it work. That makes it harder for the Browns to get that kind of market, too. Now, it might be a draft day type trade. You're right. Maybe they wait until they see the result on Watson and all these other cases, because there is another jury coming in, and maybe the NFL has different ruling on that, and that might either help his value depending on how he heals from the injury, or it might hurt his value on how long they wait. So it's definitely a tricky dilemma for the Browns to judge. They already gambling in on Watson, hoping these cases go away, and maybe there's less of them in the future, where maybe, all right, he might be suspended 6 games for this season, but still might get the remainder of the 4 years of the contract. So it might be well worth it for them to get a franchise quarterback, because Watson, when he's at the top of his game, is a top 5 quarterback in the league.
In just a few minutes, we'll be talking to Matt Fontana, ESPN radio show host in Cleveland, what the Cleveland fans are thinking, what he thinks with the DeShaun Watson trade and Baker Mayfield, who has been a fan favorite over there before this year. The year before, he was one play away from being in an AFC title game and maybe the Super Bowl.
And maybe a yard, too, for Rashard Higgins got in the end zone second quarter.
The fact that he has lost the fans and being a fan favorite that quick, it's just a crazy story. But he's still a very popular player, and Baker had one of the highest jersey sales in the NFL last year. And all those Baker Mayfield jerseys are pretty much going to be burned. Cleveland likes to do that with the LeBron James jersey, so why not do it with Baker Mayfield? So Baker will probably be looking towards playing for another team. I do believe the Browns will hold on to him as the DeShaun Watson situation still is not closed. As far as Tyreek Hill is concerned, the story were coming out that Tyreek was very upset with the Davante Adams contract. He got the highest paid wide receiving contract in NFL history. He thinks that he's as good or just as valuable as Davante Adams to his team. He had an extension 2 years by Kansas City, I think for 70 to 75 million. Then Kansas City in the middle of the week said, go seek your own trade and we will trade you. He reached out to quite a few teams, and the two teams that were on the head of his list were the Jets and the Miami Dolphins in the AFC East. Both teams offered quite good offers. Jets offering their two number twos and their third this year to land Tyreek Hill and another pick. Miami, they offered a boatload of picks. A first, a second, 2 fourths. One of the fourths will come next year, and a 6th-round draft pick next year to land Tyreek Hill and pay him $120 million. A lot of Jet fans were upset that he decided to go to Miami. I wasn't surprised because his house is over there in Florida. How Miami figured out that contract as fast as they did when he was traded is ridiculous. So I think he knew where his plan was. Very surprised he chose them, especially with the coaching situation, the carousel that happened in the offseason with a racist owner. I was just very surprised that he went with that and didn't decide to go with the Jets. I'm not upset, and Jet fans should not be upset because the Jets still have a great value of picks. If you brought in Tyreek Hill, that would have absolutely killed your salary cap next year in free agency.
I think this trade is very weird for both teams. The Chiefs lose the star number one receiver, an elite receiver for quite a while. And even before Mahomes got there, he was putting up good numbers with Alex Smith as well. And now Travis Kelce, you still got there, but you have a lot of question marks with the rest of the receivers. They were struggling much of the year. The running game has been a platoon since the beginning of the season with Hilaire and then Jerick McKinnon, Darrell Williams, all these guys. Now, the extra draft picks will help. I think they got a good return. The Chiefs have done better at drafting in later rounds, which helps. I think that's why they went for that offer over the Jets offer in terms of a raw draft pick, because the Jets picks are quality all around a little better, but the Dolphins gave them a little bit of extras. And the Chiefs have done well at hitting on those extra draft picks a lot more than their early ones. Nick Bolton, it was a linebacker, 3rd-round pick. The guard Smith that they drafted this year was a 5th-round pick.
I think Kansas City won this trade.
So I think that's why they ended up going for those extra draft picks. In addition, obviously, Hill wanted to go there for Miami. But there's still a lot of question marks if they're going to be able to replace that kind of production, because they brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a guy that's been good at points, but hasn't done well when he's been a guy that's been a number one receiver since Antonio Brown left.
You're giving a team that is very good at drafting. Remember, Tyreek Hill was a 6th-round draft pick. And you know what Andy Reid likes to do. There is no way they're not going to hit on one of these picks to add a good offensive player that might not be as good as Tyreek Hill, but can give you somewhere close to what Tyreek Hill can give you. I think they won this trade. They don't have to pay him. They could pay Brown. Their quarterback is good enough to win. They are in the hardest division in football. This could be a year that they take 2 steps back, but not for long. I think this team is still very well built.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard, too, because you're going to have to trust somebody to get the combined production. That would mean having another 2nd or 3rd receiver step up that we haven't really seen the consistency out of in that time.
Well, they haven't seen the ball enough.
But they also haven't proven enough that they deserve it. Also, the other thing with the Chiefs, too, is they have a lot of holes to fill with their secondary, too. Now, the one thing that could help with this clearing of the money, maybe they get Honey Badger back, and maybe they're able to extend Orlando Brown. Still, they have to make those things work. And that's why I think the timing of it was kind of weird, too. This would have made a lot more sense kind of before free agency when the Chiefs, all right, you trade Tyreek Hill, you have that money cleared, then we can go after an attack free agency. But now a lot of these guys are signed already. The market kind of slims down. It's diminished where a lot of the guys signed quickly at the beginning of free agency.
Tyler Lockett's still out there you can make a trade for with all those draft stock. You add Tyler Lockett, and he's not Tyreek Hill, but he's not far from Tyreek Hill either. He's not going to be as expensive. You're not going to have to give up as much draft stock-wise. You could probably give the Miami Dolphins 2nd and get Tyler Lockett. And Tyler Lockett, this past year, being hurt as he has, 1,200 yards, he's not far from what Tyreek Hill is. Now, obviously, Tyreek Hill is a game changer, and Tyler Lockett is more like an add-on offensive player. But in that scheme with Patrick Mahomes, you saw what he did with Russell Wilson. So I think Tyler Lockett's a very good player that you can add to your team. You won't lose a beat if you add Tyler Lockett.
Now, from the Miami Dolphins perspective, I thought it was kind of weird, too. Now, they needed a playmaker like that, and I think he's a very good scheme fit for any scheme, but still, to help out Tua Tagovailoa. Now, the question is, offensive line is still an issue for them. They bring in Teron Armstead, that's nice, but they're using that money now on Tyreek Hill. It's going to be very hard for them to build anymore. So hopefully those draft picks that they hit on start to develop.
Which they don't have.
I'm talking about the ones they drafted already that have been busts so far in the NFL. Outside of Austin Jackson, who's been pretty good as a tackle, that's really it. The other thing is, too, is like you were mentioning, they have a new coach, and Brian Flores really did a great job with that team and did a great job with that defense. So will their defense be as good and carried over? Yes, they have some stars on their team, but how many of those players did Brian Flores fit into
their
that
defense
system?
also took 2 steps back last year.
At certain points in the year, they absolutely did. And that's what the consistency is definitely concerning with that. So that's why I don't love it from the Dolphins side either. Yes, you're trying to make the flashy move. And finally, the Dolphins do it as somebody in their prime in their career, sure. But still, that wasn't the only thing they need. It's a nice boost. They still have a lot of issues, though. So I'm a little skeptical both ways.
This is a perfect move for Kansas City. I don't know why you're skeptical to a team that has always done well in the draft, especially offensively. You're adding an extra first, extra second, an extra fourth this year. You have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 fourths. You're one of the league's best when it comes to draft stock this year. You can move up. You could trade for pieces. I mean, Kansas City set up very well. This is a good move for Kansas City, and they didn't want to pay Tyreek Hill.